Zach.
Hello?
Hi.
How's it going?
Yeah, we do. I'm good. Yeah, we do like, I don't know, what would you say? 99, 95, 9 out of 10 shows we do live. Every once in a while, we have to pre-record a show. This is one of these shows that we had to pre-record. So it's really interesting because we stay away from politics, but like we're recording the show before the election and it will air after the election. So who knows what the world is going to be like when the show airs? I don't know. So it's kind of weird.
It'll be exactly the same.
In some regards, by and large, I hope that you're right. The world is interesting, but
just a simulation. Started watching a new show. It's called From. Have you heard of this?
No. What platform?
I hadn't even known of this platform. It's called MGM Plus. Also, did you know that MGM, the production studio, is not affiliated with MGM, the casino?
How many MGMs could there be in the world? Wow. No, I did not know that.
And I think they're both publicly traded. Because anyway, so it's called From. Obviously, one of my favorite shows of all time is Lost. It screams Lost.
Oh, really?
I would say it is a show that is currently in a season 2. I think there's 3 seasons so far that have gone out.
How does one find MGM Plus?
My wife's brother apparently has watched this show. But they're associated with Amazon, so I guess they have 200 million subscribers. I don't know how it's.
There's a lot of platforms.
Well, just remember, when everyone was cord cutting, to go cheaper, and now it's like $4,000 a month for content.
If you wanted to stream everything, it is way more than the cost of cable.
So far the show From interesting. I'd say it's a mix of Walking Dead meets Manifest meets Lost meets something else in there. A True Blood, maybe.
I've only seen Lost out of all the shows you named. So,
well, I've never seen Manifest, but allegedly that's similar to Lost. So today's guest, don't know?
Yeah, so that's like the other aspect of the what makes the show interesting, because we're recording this show just a couple days before the championship pitch of Start Peninsula.
When is that? What day will that be? Wednesday?
That will be on Wednesday, November 6th. This will air today, where this airs on November 7th. But Josh is a finalist in the championship pitch, meaning that he's one of the top 12.
Oh, you have 12 this year.
Well, we do 4 micro pitches. We take the top 3 of each. That makes the top 12 for the year.
Was it always 12? I feel like it used to be 10.
Yeah. There was one year that we had 9 or 10. Something happened where we had to, we only did 3 micro pitches for some reason. I don't know. I can't remember. Dude, probably all these years, it may have been. All these years blend together. Only 2 months left in the year. Crazy.
Yeah, some people already have their Christmas decorations up.
I'm not going to comment on anything. Not all. I have no comment. Next.
Does your wife watch every one of these shows?
I doubt it.
All right, well.
Yeah,
I saw a commercial today that was pretty funny, and it was a kid trying to listen to Christmas music in the car, and the mom's like, "Not yet," and they're in Halloween costumes. Then right at Thanksgiving, kids trying to play it again, not yet, and then finally, Thanksgiving is over, and the mom lets them listen to Jingle Bells or something like that. Well, and I thought of someone that I know.
Yeah,
real close to
Josh,
you.
I will say welcome to the show, but yes, have you ever heard of the book "Give the Mouse a Cookie"?
Yes.
So the premise of the book is you give the mouse a cookie, and then they're like, oh, well, then this leads to this, which leads to this, which leads to that. Next thing you know, So it was like, let's go up into the attic and organize the Christmas ornaments and decorations,
Sure.
which leads to, let's bring them downstairs. Oh, well, I'm just going to put one up. And then meanwhile, I'm watching
Every single decoration go up.
yeah, I'm watching the World Series, and like the next thing you know, it's like getting brighter over my shoulder, and I'm like, okay, this is where this is going.
Is your attic actually above your second floor, or is it a room in your second floor?
It's over the second floor. We had
some attics now are just rooms on floors.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Like a
really?
I guess I would call a closet.
I would just call it another room.
Unfinished, yeah, an unfinished room.
Is your attic finished in any kind of capacity?
No.
Okay, so you can see all the insulation and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have issues with your decorations up there?
They're all
Like
boxed
melting
in
or anything?
containers. No.
Just trash bag it. Yeah.
Although I am convinced, like no matter how neat you put cords and lights and all that stuff, you can put them away very neat. They unravel and knot over the course of the year.
Yeah, it's true. It's
Josh, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Excited.
I know that you just put it in a trash bag and let it sit. That's the kind of guy Josh is, so that's cool.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And I do not have one of the sort of offhanded second floor semi quasi attics, but I'll let you know if I get one so you can come see it.
But I heard of when I first heard of them, I thought it was wild. Where are you right now?
I am back in Williamsburg, Virginia. So excited to be back here.
Okay.
I moved out for a month and a half or so. Missed it too much. So here I am back again.
Oh,
where did you go in between?
Just like back home and just visiting friends and things. Cause I graduated, moved out of my place. The business sort of started picking up steam. All my connections to that are here. So, decided to put my money where my mouth is and come back and try and give it a full shot. So
where's home?
Home is Ashburn, Virginia, sort of. But I have a lot of family down in Florida, and there's sort of a little bit of movement between the two because my brother started school in Florida.
So did you go to Broad Run or Stonebridge? Or something else
I
there now?
actually went to neither. I went to a school called Rockridge.
Rockridge. Is that a public school?
Yeah. That's a public school. And then my brother, because they like to rezone us every couple of years, he went to Briarwoods.
There's that many high schools in Ashburn now?
There's quite a few, yeah, because it was farmland when we moved there and we were growing up, and now it's like the NBA
farmland. When did you move there?
2003.
Oh, okay.
2003, I think. Okay. Yeah, there was one grocery store in 20 minutes, and it was farmland, and now it's the NBA draft. Whenever you get to go to high school, you get to pick from not you get to pick, they tell you, but you get to see which of the 30 schools you go to.
I think when I moved, so I grew up in Sterling. This is how crazy the growth is there. I blame this all on Steve Case, AOL. I think 6 high schools.
Yeah,
in Loudoun County, and there's 21 now or something like that.
Wow.
I bet that there's even 21 just in Ashburn. Honestly, it's crazy.
Wow. Is that because the population is so big, or the population is young, or both?
I think it's a combination of a few things. I know that this wasn't the case when we moved there, but it's become like data centerville because I think the wiring is so expensive.
No one works at a data center. It's like 2 people.
People don't work at the data center, but people definitely work around the data center. And so I'm not sure if this is all superstition, but I'm assuming that it's cheaper to build them closer together for the connective wiring and things like that. So it's I don't know if you've seen the movie The Maze Runner, but that's always my joke sort of about it is there's so many data centers around us now that I'm waiting for the walls to come up in between them and for it to box us off into a giant.
But they're not they're long and wide, but they're not tall. Which is
they're huge. Yeah, they're 5-6 stories tall. At least to me, it's huge. Oh yeah, no, not skyscraper. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no.
Well, I think the other thing that's interesting too. It seems like generally people wait longer to have a family in Northern Virginia.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I think
could be a combination. It could be a combination of younger population mixed with the people that are waiting, that waited to have children, combined with the growth, combined. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, that's a lot of high schools. That's crazy.
Yeah, and not saying that any of them are huge. I mean, they're good size, but they're not Goliaths. But definitely more than the one grocery store back when we first got there. So
yeah, I think like 1,600, 1,400 people, probably 400 person graduating class. Yeah,
that sounds about right.
So you graduated high school. You chose William and Mary. What made you choose William and Mary?
The really short answer is that William and Mary had fireflies, and I thought that those were pretty cool. But the long story.
Wait. Firefly, like the little bugs?
Yeah. No, it was like a beautiful like summer evening when I first like showed up to tour William and Mary. So like I step out of my car, it's beautiful, it's summer, everything's lit up, like a whole bunch of fireflies just like cover the car, and I was like, it's not too bad. I could live in firefly paradise.
What were the other places that you looked at that did not have fireflies?
Virtually every other school in the Northeast, for the most part, didn't have fireflies, and at least in the same quantity. There might be one or two, but there weren't hundreds. But I think the long answer is through all of middle school and high school, I was super workaholic, one mind, just completely focused on engineering and physics. And so naturally, sort of the progression to that is that I just applied to a whole bunch of engineering schools, was like, this is what I'm going to do. And I was fortunate enough to do really, really well, like competing in robotics stuff, doing like aerospace design, working with big firms, just sort of like the whole sort of moonshot dream, I guess, like in middle school and high school, where like you're getting paid to travel and talk to people and do things. But I felt that there was a contingency in my mind that everything was sort of backed by the fear of failure, because in my mind, engineering was sort of unironically like a sport of problem solving. And it was like, if I could be the best engineer, then I thought I could problem solve my way out of everything. And that was sort of my like anxious, like young adult, like trying to find his way in the world, deflection strategy. And so William and Mary for me, and pursuing business and art and these more intangible, human driven, and obviously you can assign statistics to business and those things, but just fundamentally at the core, just gut intuition programs was sort of my offset counter to that, my sort of hard counter to that, in the sense that I was happy that I had this hard set of engineering skills, but my hope was that I could build a trust in following that sort of gut intuition and seeing where that developed, and just sort of the blind belief that things would work out, and just enjoying work for the sake of that, and then bringing back the engineering into it after college, which is sort of what I've been fortunate enough to do now. So that way I could end up with a product that wasn't even just hopefully the best engineering wise, but it was also the most affordable from a business sense. It was the most desirable from a customer sense in the artistic ways. And it worked to try and create something, at least a couple of things that people genuinely want and could use and could enjoy for the long term.
Well, they use fireflies, obviously.
And the fireflies, but William and Mary was the only non-engineering school I applied to. So sort of in the same vein as right now, where I'm like going to put my money where my mouth is. I turned down every other engineering school I got into. And I was like, all right, William and Mary, here we go. And, no turning back. So.
Wow.
Well, you were saying engineering. I'm like, is William and Mary engineering? I didn't know that. So
no. That was the reason. So yeah.
Yeah. They just started data science.
I think so. And I'm sure engineering is down the pipeline, but at least as far as I was concerned, it was out of the picture, because this is a very like, humanities, liberal arts, business, English school.
That was my next question. Okay.
Yeah, I think that because they just introduced the data science program, or a school of data science, or what, I can't remember what they call it, but I think that was the first school that they added to William and Mary since like 1978 or some crazy thing. It's been quite some time, but
what is data science? What do they consider that?
I don't know what's in the curriculum, but I mean, it's definitely more your hardcore programming, computer science. Definitely not your liberal arts. work.
It is cool to see, but it is a bit of an interesting match just because I'd say the school as a whole leans very, and I prefer this about it, but it leans very heavily into the broad spectrum, take a whole bunch of classes interdisciplinarily and then bring them back together. So it'll be interesting to see how like a more traditional engineering program or data science program develops out of that, where, you know, you do such a strict set of like core curriculum that you really do need to get done if you're hoping to go into the workforce or hoping to go to grad school or anything.
At what point did you get introduced to the business school or slash the entrepreneurship hub?
The sad thing is, I think because the area I came from and just my interest was so engineering dominant, I knew that business classes were a thing, but I don't think I really realized that the business school in its full sense existed in the way that people like went on to become accountants, and there was like a whole like accountant and finance sort of like grad school and post college track. But I'd say that sort of like beginning of sophomore year, end of freshman year, I started to catch on and just immediately tried taking as many classes as I could, even to the point that first you're traditionally supposed to get admitted into the business school. And I just sort of sent as many sad emails as I could, being like, I didn't know that this was a thing, you know, let me in. And just, you know, fell in love with all the classes I was taking through both the Entrepreneurship Hub and the business school. And just, yeah, kind of from there, just tried to pick up as many as I could. Sometimes just completely irrelevant to major or minor, I would just enroll in as many seemingly fun to me. They may not be fun to other people, but fun to me classes, and especially special topic sections where I think my biggest love of the business school, getting to have guest lecturers come in, teach a very niche subject area for a few days and just stringing together as many of those as I could, was a great way for me to feel like I was getting a better sense of not even just like the technical business skills, but also like the mental shift I needed to make to better operate, you know, in a consumer people-driven world that's hard to understand.
Is that still Graham Henshaw? Is he still the guy running that?
Yeah, Graham Henshaw is still one of the.
What is the assistant provost, or he's got a new fancy title now.
Oh, that's new to me. I'll have to congratulate.
Well, I mean, it's relatively new. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I don't know when but yeah, he provost of some kind for entrepreneurship.
Very cool. But both he and the other, I think, I guess mark this down perfectly, but he and I think the other like head of the entrepreneurship potentially, Brandon Hennessy, have just given such incredible support and have been so kind and have been a listening ear for even the silliest, most irrelevant of questions. So I can't thank them enough.
So how did the genesis of your business start? Did it come from just purely an idea? Did you always have this burning desire to, yeah, we'll get into what the business is, but how did that form? What's the backstory?
Yeah, I mean, I think like most people, starting a business is always sort of the long-term dream, or maybe that's not like everybody, but it's at least, I think, an area of curiosity for many people. So I'd read a lot of like entrepreneurship books and growth strategy books through like the later part of high school and into college. But I think I wanted to be set in a product first that was actually going to help people. The worst thing I wanted to do is I wanted to sell people garbage or sell people something that they didn't need or didn't want. And so I think I was sort of waiting for the timing to align, in the sense that through the later part of high school, a lot of the like tech that I was patenting was a lot of like rocket-based tech, but heavy, you know, very capital intensive, very heavy upfront costs, sort of, I wouldn't say it's impossible, but at least for an 18-year-old within the scope of my reality, was impossible at the time to push off of that. And so this business sort of started chaotically. It was a result of my mom 4 or 5 years ago smashing in her knees off of a curb, watching her go through the process of PTs, talking to surgeons, surgery, cortisone shots, buying other braces, just seeing all of that unravel and seeing her left relatively the same as a week or two after the injury, just completely unable to hike, unable to walk up more than 2 or 3 stairs normally, just seeing her gait being thrown totally out of whack. And kind of curious to see if this was a more common situation than I thought. So I was lucky enough to get a fellowship not this past summer, but 2 summers ago, with a professor at the business school to just talk to people, talk to doctors, talk to patients, better understand the market. And so that was a wonderful experience to sort of file a paper on behalf of the school about what the kind of market trends are and what the current market status quo is surrounding knees. And that was, I'd say, then my jumping point off that the next 9 months following that, I developed 30 or so iterations of the brace, just trying to get something that worked for my mom, pulling from my own research as well as other people's research about what surgeons want, because obviously I'm not a doctor. So I figured the best thing I can do is talk to doctors and patients and see. Pulled out with those 30 iterations, was really happy with what I had come up with, but I was the only person to actually use it because I was there. And so I had my mom try it on at graduation this past spring. She went from only being able to walk up 3 steps without just completely face planting to her doing essentially 5 flights of stairs up and down, taking off the brace and feeling completely fine. And being gracious enough, or I should say, like being fortunate enough to have so many people talk to me on this journey and hearing how many people were afflicted by the issue. I felt an obligation, but a very positive obligation, to want to loop back and try and help and bring everybody who I talked to on the journey into the picture and actually create something meaningful for them that might allow them to get back to what they love. As well as
she had surgery, or this was to replace, like, maybe I missed that part, but what?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say the knees are kind of weird in the sense that most other body parts are high blood flow areas. Most other like commonly injured body parts like bones and things are high blood flow. So when you break something, you can sew it back together, you can mend it, you can put in replacements, and it's really good about healing over. The knee is sort of unique in the fact that it gets so little blood that most traditional medical practices aren't all that helpful. And then that's kind of seen in the fact that every year we do less and less and less knee surgeries, but we keep seeing more and more and more knee injuries. And for the most part, and sort of to quote verbatim what I've heard from the surgeons, braces only kind of serve, traditional braces only serve to just remind you that you're injured and be careful. And so for me, I was curious to sort of push beyond the acceptance of, your knee isn't looking so good, just try and enjoy the couch more. And I tried to take the engineering approach of maybe your knee is totally busted and will never be able to heal it in a million years, but what actually comes after that? And is there a way to engineer a solution so that way you can actually get back to what you love? Because the other 99% of your body, your arms, your other leg, your core, your heart, your lungs, everything else works great. And it seems silly to stop hiking or stop surfing or stop doing anything else that you love just for one little tiny bit. And so this is, I'd say, an engineering acceptance of the fact that most braces work like a cast and that I can't heal you. But how do I create a brace that works like a pair of crutches that's actually absorbing impact and actually functioning as a pseudo replacement for the knee? And fortunately enough, that worked well for my mom, who has tried the cortisone injections and talked to surgeons, was sort of just seen as a poor candidate for surgery, despite her many injuries. And has bought many, many, many braces, all to just kind of sit in the back shelf because they don't work all that well.
I never really thought about knees and braces and stuff until we had met during your Start Peninsula journey. But it's interesting in the sense of, like, you say that the number of surgeries go down. Is it because it's just easier or more profitable to do just a whole new knee replacement? Or is it the fact that maybe there's just money that is made on buying many different types of braces? I don't know if that's the same manufacturer; they just have different flavors. But I don't know. It's interesting. It's because you hear everyone always talks about having knee problems, and it's just maybe you're the guy that comes up with a solution.
We'll see. Hopefully, it is funny because I started off with the classical engineering thing of overcomplicating it and building this 200-part monstrosity with bands and levers, and it was a whole crazy thing. And the level to which it's been dwindled down to this relatively simple but very effective design has been quite the humbling journey. I should say, but I hope so.
I think that probably I see benefits and I see pushback in the sense of, you probably, in terms of headwinds, see people what do you know you're not a doctor? What do you know you're not a surgeon? But at the same time, you can say, yeah, well, I am able to look at this differently because I'm an engineer, and it's a good thing that I'm not a doctor or a surgeon because I can provide something that actually works. So what kind of, what's the feedback you've received from the different people that you've talked to?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the first and foremost thing is every patient, doctor, anything I've talked to is just excited to see something. They've been stuck with their condition for years, and the doctors want to help. They desperately want to help. It's just sort of a matter of fact with the body that it is so hard to treat and so hard to heal that most people just aren't good candidates for surgery, and specifically older people. If you're 17, 18, 20, you're a pro athlete, you're a great candidate for surgery. The traditional path works wonderfully. This is just mostly speaking to the people 35 and up, 50 and up, who represent the majority of the market that maybe aren't superstar athletes, that are just looking for anything and are so excited to try anything. And I think speaking to the headwind problem, which I think is significant, is that part of the beauty of this brace versus surgery or versus most medical treatments is that this isn't a medical device. It really is sort of a sports utility performance oriented device. And because of that, it's instantaneous. You've lived with this pain and this crunching and this grinding for years and years and years. You put on the brace and it may not work for you, but if it does work for you, it's like that. You can walk up steps, you can walk down steps, take it off, feel as right as rain, and actually see the immediate improvement. And so I think the hope for me is to get enough braces out into the market that people can actually try one on for themselves, even if it's for 30 seconds or for a minute or to go down a flight of stairs, see the difference it makes, and then hopefully get one for themselves.
Tim, did you ever read the book Born to Run?
No, I have not. And that's probably like the book that every runner reads.
Yeah, but it has really nothing to do with running. It's more of like a running story. But in it, there's this dude who is a barefoot runner, and it's unclear if it's like legit barefoot or if it's like sandals that are like barefoot. But anyway, I think they named him like Barefoot Dan or something like this, and like he runs like 5,000 miles in his shoes, and then like apparently like when he thinks it's time for them to be done, he switches them, so like his left becomes right. But something in there was really interesting to me. I think it's this book, but apparently there were no knee issues until Nike came around with shoes and added cushions. And then all of that happened. This just makes me think of that story and what you're doing and saying cushioning and knees does that actually make it worse? And I know we don't have enough trials and people doing it yet, but like it was just, it's interesting to me that you hear the Nike shoe aspect of that, and Nike would never tell you that they're the reason why people are having knee surgeries, right? And maybe there's no proof to that, but it is interesting. It makes you think like, oh, wow, the cushion makes you feel better, but is it actually making your body worse type of aspect? Have you thought about anything like that in the development of this? And am I actually making things worse, even though it feels better long-term? What are your just thoughts on hearing that stuff?
No, absolutely. And I can sort of touch on all that. I think the biggest, first, most exciting thing is that for people with knee injuries, it's less even the pain of the activity that's the problem as much as they try and do something. It feels painful, but it's kind of okay. But then the next 2 weeks, they're laid up afterwards. And I think that's been sort of the biggest gift of this brace is that you can do something, it absorbs the impact. And then for the next 2 weeks afterward, you're ready to go every single day. You can get back to hiking, you can get back to exercise, because the traditional catch-22 is that the best thing that you can do for your knee is to cycle it, to keep it moving, to keep it flowing. But the worst thing you can do for it is put undue pressure on it, put impact on it that your knee just can't take or that is painful. And so this is sort of the best of both worlds, where you're reducing the impact, but you're actually creating the rotation and the movement that's really healthy and helpful. And as far as the Nike cushion thing, I do totally agree with you. And I think that it's a two-part between the fact that we don't run enough to actually train up the knee to make it stronger, to build the tendons, to keep it in full shape. And I think that people who, spend most of the time just sitting down, working or studying or reading or sleeping, for them to then go and do a run or to do a walk or to do a hike is a lot of undue, unexpected stress. And the fact that Nike basically stuck in it's less even about the cushion, I should say, with Nike. as much as that they fundamentally altered where your foot strikes the ground. So by putting in that really thick, cushy sole, it's almost like you're running on heels constantly, which is really, really, really bad for your feet, versus having shoes that are just evenly cushioned throughout, which they do make is perfectly fine, at least as far as I'm aware.
I think in the same book, they talk about the African runners and how they don't give them shoes until they're like 18. Mm-hmm. And that's why their feet are so fast. And they have all those muscles actually built, where shoes eliminate that. And so it's interesting. Obviously, most Americans would not want to walk around without shoes on. But then, in other places in the world, and we wonder why they're the greatest runners in the world, a lot of studies have said, or maybe not a lot of studies, that was a lie. I don't know that I've ever heard that. This book, I believe, said that about the African runners and shoes.
Yeah. And I totally agree with that. And I think it's sort of a typically misunderstood thing that, to beat up and abuse. I mean, it's the same way with exercise, obviously, but just to beat up and abuse, all the body parts is the best way to actually make them stronger and prevent injury in the long term.
I think that the listening to you, one of the things I really want to make sure we touch on is your target market in the market segment. I think this is a really, really interesting exercise, because one of the things that when we talk to founders, we're always telling them, narrow down your market. And then when you think you've got it narrow it down even further. And you haven't even this is really interesting to me in the sense of you're like, oh, well, I'm going after people with knee pain. Well, okay, that's still a pretty decent size market, but you've had, from what I hear, you've had to continue to narrow it down, because it could be, this is for professional athletes. These are people that are pre-surgery, post-surgery, for the everyday person you had mentioned. So how did you? It seemed like you just continue to narrow in on that market. Can you walk us through that? How you discovered who your target market is? I just find it really interesting that other founders need to hear this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I don't know that I've done necessarily a perfect job of narrowing it in, but at least for me, the core driver of it, as I kind of touched on earlier, is that I do want to have a net good. And so for me, it was about refining my market as much as possible to the people that could most benefit from it, because I think that they'll be the best chairs people, and the best spokespeople for it, as well as reap the most benefit from it. And I'm aware of the fact that even if I have people on the fringes that could somewhat benefit from it, that they're, I should say, almost a distraction, in the sense that I don't want me focusing on the people on the fringes that could sort of benefit from it to be such a big distraction that the people in the core group who could really, really, really use it don't actually end up getting the advertisement or getting the publicity or getting told about it. And they just kind of have to continue to suffer. And so going through that journey, I definitely started with my mom and seeing her conditions, and continued to narrow it down around people in the similar category of not even hopeless and despair sounds very discouraging, but people who have felt let down by the industry, because I think that they're desperate and wanting to try something positive, and I feel confident enough in this product that they might just be willing to take the leap for it. And I think that we could catch them on the other side and actually deliver on sort of the impossible dream that they thought might not be able to return. And so I think the refinement around the market has been two-part. One part between people who aren't young, who aren't maybe in peak physical condition, who are just looking to subsidize their activities or meet themselves halfway, and have accepted the fact that they may never be at 100%, but just are looking for somebody to meet them at the 70, 80, 90% mark, so that way they can do what they love. And people who are just aren't looking to settle anymore. People who are excited for anything, because they've been so let down that they're willing to go and try, a crazy one-off no-name brace that might just work, and would be so over the moon excited about it that they'd be willing to tell all their friends about it.
It's
Well,
just
I don't know about you, but I don't know about any braces are named, so I feel like they're all no named.
yeah. But I mean,
Except for that
there's
Brett Favre
certainly,
one.
yeah. Well, that's what I was going
The
to say. Like,
copper.
there's certainly a big difference. Like, you look at like a 300+ pound lineman that's got to like shift on the, is just making drastic change in
They
direction.
wear
And
braces, a lot of them,
yeah,
even
they
if they don't
do,
have
and it's
injuries.
just,
Yeah.
but it's just a very different thing, and that clearly, I would imagine, is not your target market. Like those guys look like almost like robot, like it's an exoskeleton that's on their knees. Like.
And in fact, yeah, your thing is cheap. I saw, or it looks like it's not cheap, and like cost wise is not
Inexpensive.
It's inexpensive, and so I thought that was interesting because I know it's not a medical device, but people will think of it, in maybe in that sphere.
Mm-hmm.
Crutches are like $4,000.
I would be willing to guess. Yeah, I would be willing to guess, and I want to. Josh can fact check me, but I would imagine the reason that it's cheap is because it's not going through an insurance company, and all the other stuff is probably the same price comparatively. But these companies know what insurance companies will pay for them, so then the prices go to match the reimbursement rate as opposed to the true cost of you trying to do something in an honest way.
I would tend to agree with that. I would definitely tend to agree with that, and I think that if you have really good insurance, that's a totally reasonable, solid way to go. I think me and pricing it is, I'm well aware, that a lot of medical stuff is marked up 1,000%, 8,000%, 80,000%, and maybe it's the fact that I have my mom and she's like the impetus for all of it, or all the people I've talked to. But that just didn't sit right with me in wanting to build, in my mind, sort of the everybody brace, whether you're pre-injury, post-injury, this is just a net good for you at an affordable price, was the dream from day one. And I think my sort of business counter to, you could probably eke out more money out of people, is that I'm hoping I can deliver a quality product at a really good price that people love so much that is the entire advertisement budget, and people are so excited to tell all their friends about the amazing deal they got to buy this, relatively affordable brace that let them do all of these things that they could do when they were 20, now that they're 60 or 70 or what have you. And at least for me and for a lot of people that have a huge deductible, I didn't want, $1,000 copay on a brace up front to be the reason that you don't try anything, especially given the fact that I am confident that this brace serves not people post-surgery or for very specific conditions, but serves the people that have been sort of disenfranchised and have been left unhealed years and years after injury. I am confident that this is a better product for them, and a better product for people that are just hoping to improve the longevity. And that, I think, also represents a significant chunk of who I'm trying to target now, is the people looking to, who are aware of knee problems, who are aware of seeing people in their sport or in their field that aren't making it past 30, 40, 50 because of their knee pain, and are trying to preserve what they have. And so, yeah, I guess it's affordable just from a moral quandary of wanting to do good more than anything else, and wanting to have healthy margins, obviously, for growth, but not wanting to be the person charging $150 for a bag of saline at the hospital. That was the last thing I wanted to do to somebody who really needed it.
So at what point do you, like, you have the idea, you're running with it, the product is available for pre-order now, which is great. Like that, take us through all of that. I'm curious, like, how did you come up with the price point? Were you working with, mentors at William and Mary? Like, how did that happen? And then from a product design standpoint, walk us through that to the point where you're like, yep, now we're ready to start accepting pre-orders.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess from the price standpoint, because that's probably a little bit easier to explain, is first I checked out how much it would actually cost me to make at the end of the 30 iterations of it. I added it all up, I added in the manufacturing costs, and I tried to say, what's a reasonable, healthy, profit margin off of this relative to other braces in the market. So trying to do my own research on other less medical devices, more, again, sports utility devices, because that really is the pivot here, because I'm not claiming to heal anybody. I can't heal anything. This is strictly a performance boost. And so I saw it more in line with like carbon plated shoes or things like that are just supposed to give you sort of a buff in what you can, or an improvement in just your native performance while wearing it, but not claiming to have anything after the fact. And so did my research on that, saw what a solid, profit margin, cost of goods, just whole number scheme looked like for that, tried to reference that. And then also tried to tie in essentially what were the cheapest bottom of the barrel braces that you can purchase. So, not the titanium carbon fiber, $2,000, $5,000 braces, but just, I'm an everyday person, my knees hurt, I'm going to go into Walgreens or CVS and see what I can pick up. And that was, I'd say, equally as much of an indicator to the price point, was those Walgreens CVS braces, as well as the just traditional market research and evaluating myself in that way, because I know that I've obsessed over knee braces for the last year and a half, but I know that most people haven't. And so the hope was to not undercut anybody, because I don't think that that's ever a strong business model, but to at least level the playing field cost wise. So that way, when somebody who doesn't really know what they're doing is looking at braces and comparing brace one at $135 to brace two at $135, that the hope being that through packaging, through the advertisement, through the actual product itself, that it's such a clear night and day difference, that we level the price field and, hopefully just swing a lot of people over. And I'd say as far as design and testing and iteration go, I am fortunate enough to say that I've not been shy with the brace. I've been talking to to anybody and everybody that will listen. And so the past year of just trial and error, just building a brace, having people try it on, healthy people with ACL issues, people with meniscus issues, seeing what they like, seeing what they don't like, completely redesigning it from the ground up, and just doing that 29 or 30 times until I was happy with it and at a place where it was robust, it was solid, it would last you years and years and years, with just continued support, and also feel premium and make you feel good about yourself, were equally important issues.
You're gonna be able to manufacture this locally in America? Where are you thinking?
Yes, yeah, that's another one of my. I'm not sure if it's smart or stupid business sensibilities, as well as the price and wanting to be morally just with people. Is it's important to me to manufacture it in America and know it's coming from a good place, from inception to delivery. And so the short-term goal and the short-term organization essentially is to small batch laser cut the pieces for right now, have them shipped in, and then hand manufacture all of the softer fabric pieces. And then hopefully the dream moonshot is enough orders come in to invest essentially in injection molding, move it over to that side, try and source a more long-term strategy as far as sewing.
How much is injection molding these days?
Not that much money to to everyday people. I'm just coming at it from the student, the undergrad college student perspective of the entire company up to this point has been built off of a $750 award for winning my school's entrepreneurship competition, from the LLC fees to buying materials to manufacturing to $750 has been everything. So looking at $5,000 or $10,000 to buy the molds for injection molding seems like a lot. But in the grand scheme of scaling is relatively nothing. If I sold 500 units or 1,000 units, I'm locked and loaded as far as mass manufacturing goes. I just also didn't want to be stuck in the predicament of, everybody's been telling me it's great. Everybody's been telling me they want to order it, but then the day actually comes and 3 people order it, and I've sunk, 20 grand into manufacturing. I didn't want to be that. And knowing that it's my first business, I've been trying to be strategic about loans or debt or anything like that, and only trying to take on what I can do, so that, lo and behold, if everything fails, that it's just on to the next business, and just take what I learn and hopefully improve upon it.
That's a real thing. The mom effect, your friends and family and people that say that, oh, we want it, and then you press buy now, and then no one buys.
Yeah.
It's like,
of course.
yeah. So, I mean, kudos to you for recognizing that, because a lot of people will just start spending money thinking that those people saying yeses are real yeses. It's like, yeah, that ain't a credit card. That ain't real money. Like,
it's like the classic car salesman thing. If people are like, oh, I'm just going to go back to my car at the dealership to get their credit card, and they just see them drive off. I didn't want to be that guy. So.
Yeah.
God, I mean, this has been quite the journey.
It's been a long time coming, and it's funny to actually have it be a year and a half in the making, essentially, with none sold, just wanting to do all the heavy R&D in the front. But I feel,
I guess it's been a great journey, and you're still at the beginning phases of this, so now you can pre-order this. You're from a crowdfunding, campaign. How did you dip your toe into that water? What platform? How did you decide what platform to use? Walk us through that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. I I knew that to hit the price point I wanted to originally, it was important for me to aggregate just at least a few orders, and to me, 50 seemed like a very reasonable, small chunk of. If I can't hit 50 orders in the timeline I'm looking at, then, this business, as much as I love it and as much energy and passion as I poured into it, may just have to end up getting shelved as an amazing learning opportunity. And I looked at doing, like a Kickstarter or any other sort of thing. But I think trying to better align with the long-term goals over the short-term goals, it felt important to me to start refining and designing and building out a website that people could come back to time and time again for repeat orders. To sort of, I guess I should say, I knew that it was important to me to do the more crowdfunding thing of pre-ordering, wait till a certain number of orders come in, hit that price point as far as manufacturing that I want, but also wanting to start building out a brand and a user experience through a website that people would be excited to engage with, and that I could learn from and improve for the time that the Kickstarter or the crowdfunding campaign ends, and it's actually time to go into a more full-fledged long-term business. Because I'm also aware of the fact that I'm 23 years old, and this is my first time really, really, really trying to build out a brand in this way, and knowing that it's going to take me many, many, many times to get that right. So trying to buy myself as much time on the front end as I can to try and secure that, hopefully before I'm spending lots of money on advertisement that's going nowhere. And so the strategy I'd say as well with that is that this isn't a drop shipped product at all, or this isn't not drop shipped, I should say, but this isn't a 2-day release hype product at all. But I've also wanted to try and build some momentum around it in the same way that I've been recommended to do so with investors or with other people. I wanted to try and build at least some snowball, some movement. And so in that way, I'm excited to have this go live. Next week, I have 6 or 7 magazine, newspaper, journalism articles going live on the subject. I have a lot of in-person advertisement places through like tennis clinics and things like that I'm going to be installing all of my advertisement in. And then I'm going to actually launch some more like just traditional like online ad campaigns, social media ad campaigns and things like that. And just hopefully chuck it all in 1 week and see what happens.
So what did mom think when you told her you're going in all in with this? We're letting this thing go. I don't know what you probably going into William and Mary. That was probably not the dream or the goal, but
of course. And it's I think it's obviously a crazy thing. But I respect the fact that my mom knows that this is the dream, and she sees how well it works, and she sees not only how well it works, but the people I've tried it with and the response I've gotten from them. You know, and it is exciting that even though I haven't sold, you know, particularly, you know, any, in the sense of like I haven't sold thousands of them. She's seen the way that she responded, and she's seen the way that other people respond, just trying it on and just breaking down in tears and crying. And I think for her, even if I end up making no money off of it, if I'm able to help a couple of people get back to what they love, I think she still sees that as a very valuable positive. And so I appreciate having that family support. And I think that me turning down a bunch of really hard to get into engineering schools in favor of getting an art degree, essentially, at William and Mary was, you know, the first time she was kind of like, you know, like, okay, we'll see how that goes. And then I was fortunate enough to get artist residencies and travel, and, you know, be photojournalists in Arizona and do a whole bunch of fun stuff with that. So I think I've gotten a little bit of buy-in, not necessarily as far as my mom, because she's been supportive from the beginning, but from the rest of the family members, hopefully the rest of the family members and friends that, you know, I go all in, but I do go all in, and it becomes obsessive, and it becomes 24/7. It, you know, for better, for worse, it may not be possible of happening, but if it's within the realm of possibilities, I'll ask the dumb questions. I'll make a fool of myself. You know, I'm willing to be wrong, and I'm willing to fail and look silly until we make it happen. So
when you go back home, what's like the first restaurant that you have to go to eat at?
Oh my goodness. I don't
like
even know.
What's the go-to place that you just have to make sure you hit every time you go home?
I feel like it has to probably be pizza or Chinese. It's sort of an equal parts war between. My brother just loves pizza, and so any celebration is an excuse to get pizza. And then my parents love Chinese food. So that's
what's the best pizza up there?
Oh goodness, that's a great question. I think it's called Scotto's, I believe is my brother's personal favorite. So he's a really big Scotto's lover.
Not Buffalo Wing Factory.
I've not been to Buffalo Wing Factory, but I believe it's probably pretty good.
Is that your go-to up there, Zach?
I mean, it's not the easiest thing to get to because but I went the last time I was there, I believe. Mm-hmm. They have these ridiculous chicken fingers there.
Oh yeah.
Ridiculous good? Or
oh yeah, they're like they're huge. Yeah, they're very tempura battered. They're
whoa.
It's a very non-traditional looking American thing. Very good.
It sounds delicious though. Wow. I'll definitely have to check it out. I just wasn't aware.
There is one in Ashburn Farms, I think.
No way. Well, I'll definitely be there.
What about when you came back to Williamsburg? What's the go-to?
The go-to is for the most part anything cheap. I'm on big conservation mode, big time conservation mode. I've been mostly just doing a lot of oh my goodness, what's the word for it? Like freelance type, like photography and architecture work, as well as like working in a tennis clinic, but trying to crush my hours doing that as much as possible. So I have as much time to invest in this. So it's but I will say I do think I'm balling on a budget. I realize that I like fancy food, but I'm not in a place in my life to afford fancy food. So it's been a good culinary journey of learning how to cook and prepare some fancy things for myself.
If Zach offers to take you out for lunch, his treat in Williamsburg, where are you going?
Oh goodness. Have you been to Oishi? It's not the fanciest, but it's probably my favorite if I had to pick one.
Tim?
No.
Is that sushi?
It's like a Japanese place.
Like they cook right in front of you type of thing?
No, not hibachi. More like a takeaway, like yakisoba, fried rice place. But yeah, we'll see. You might love it. Who knows? And if you want to go anywhere fancier, I won't say no. So
I ain't a fancy person. Don't you worry.
I'm not a fancy person either. I do think that. Gosh, I can't think of the name of the place now in Newtown. the steak, the
Oh,
steakhouse
Opus
there.
9.
Opus 9. Yeah. They have a really great lunch special there.
Huh.
And it's inexpensive. At least last time I was there, but yeah. So Paul's is not the go-to place.
For a lot of people, it is. I think I'm one of the far and few that aren't a Paul's fanatics. So.
Paul's. So what do you prefer, Paul's campus Paul's or Newtown Paul's?
This is the first time I'm hearing that there is a Newtown Paul's. So I guess campus Paul's, but
is that is Newtown yours, Tim?
Yeah.
Got it.
But yeah, the one on campus, I don't know. It's just like sticky floors, and I don't know. Maybe they've improved it.
Yeah.
But
I didn't even know that. I don't know why. I think I was fortunate enough to get lunch with Gary last weekend, and I somehow I think assumed that everybody's far away. I didn't realize that you were like in Williamsburg.
I'm in York County, but yeah, I back with the Launchpad. It was something that I created back in the day, and that was in Newtown above Paul's Deli before they moved it into the Entrepreneurship.
Oh,
but yeah,
who did you have lunch with? Gary who?
Gary Plague. Yeah,
he was in town.
Yeah,
just for homecoming
weekend.
Yeah. I think just somehow I just kind of assumed that everybody else was 5 hours away too. So, not that you're like, right sitting on top of Newtown, but at least you're, more closer than 5 hours away. So
is that how far away Boone, North Carolina is?
I think so. Yeah.
I think
at
about
least 5.
What's up with his house? Is it okay?
Yeah, he's up on a mountain, so he's fine.
Oh, all the issues were low?
Yeah.
So you didn't mention anything. It sounded like his house was still standing. So
yeah, he's up at elevation.
Some of those videos were wild.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I know we moved in my brother like during the storm actually coming up, and so we just we took like a 10-hour further path around.
Oh, where'd he go to school?
In Florida, in Ringling College, down in Florida.
Oh,
which is I'm. I think you're part of the I'm part of the few of who haven't heard of Paul's, but I think you're part of the majority who haven't heard of Ringling. It's a arts college that's really really big into directing, and he's I give him credit. He's also all in on the writing acting. Sorry, not writing acting, but writing directing thing. And so knowing that that's as tumultuous a topic with relatives is maybe my art degree was, he wanted to go to a school that was really renowned for that, and where a lot of studios like pulled people to get hired off of. So they have an amazing conversion rate into the field as far as getting picked up for really really solid directing and studio jobs. So he's like, this is what I want to do. This is the school that seems to get hired for that. So away he went.
Last time I checked, it wasn't a relative's life. It's your life. So you guys do what you want to do.
Fortunately, we haven't let us stop that. So.
Yeah, I think
come on, Sonny, you can't do that.
Going into this, I didn't expect it, but yeah, you put on a little master class about your journey here, which was really really cool. Going into something that you didn't know a whole lot about, you dug in. You're not afraid to talk to your customers. You're not afraid to ask for help. You're not. You just keep on chopping at this thing one chop at a time, and man, you super cool.
I appreciate that.
Through this journey. Yeah.
It's been a crazy journey, but it's actually been really fun. I've enjoyed. I can say I've genuinely enjoyed every step of the way. It's it's scary, and you have nights that you're super stressed out. I think it's somehow that's part of the dream though, and it makes good stories even a week out. Even a week out from it, you're laughing about it and having a good time. So hopefully we can help a couple of people, and hopefully prevent some stuff. And yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. But regardless, it'll be fun.
Give us a plug. Where do people go to pre-order? And
archetypebraces.com. You just type it in, click on it. There's a link at the top of the page as well as a link on the bottom of the page, and you can kind of read more about the technicals of how it works and how it might work for you. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. We'll make sure we have that link in the show notes as well. And yeah, super cool. Appreciate you taking on this journey with our.
Thank you so much for having me
with us.
Most certainly. Yeah.
Awesome.
Best of luck to you all, and hopefully we can see each other at Paul's sometimes. That'll be fun.
Very